Hi, everyone. Thank you for waiting for a late stream today. The reason that it was delayed was because I was waiting to see if Warner Brothers Discovery would have anything interesting in their stream that we could potentially cover. Their earnings call. Today was a big earnings call day. Disney was early this morning. Warner Brothers was just a little bit ago at 4:30. Nothing really big happened with Warner Brothers, so we're going to focus on the Disney event, which is substantial. They gave us a ton of stuff to go over, and it's really a fascinating look at the business of Disney and how the company is set up. And I think it's going to give you, by the end of this stream, a really good understanding about some of the decisions that they're making. But let's take a look first at the state of the Disney company. So I have a table of contents for us to go over in our discussions. So we're going to go through it, and I have this arrow. Boop, boop. Thank you, Jack. I have this arrow. That's right. It's a business stream, Mexican Nacho. I have this arrow so you can know where in the, instead of boxes, so that you can know where in the discussion that we are. All right? And then Disney has provided some incredible graphics that we're going to have a really good time going over. The graphics they just provided to everybody in their presentation. Okay, so of course, they were very low on announcements because they have their big convention this weekend. I'm planning to work all weekend. Starts 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday, but it's a huge panel on Friday evening, a 2-hour panel. They're going to go all over all their entertainment announcements at once. Then, of course, on Saturday afternoon, late in the afternoon, there's a Marvel animation panel. And then in the evening, on Saturday, there's going to be a theme park panel. There's no specific Star Wars or Marvel panel, Danny. Everything will be in the Friday night presentation. Everything. Every single announcement. All right? So, something that was very interesting is that you can see the clear, broad appeal of Disney. I think that Disney does a really incredible job, and they just, Bob Iger went on his famous purchasing spree, and I think he did a really phenomenal job in making sure that the company has very, very, very broad appeal. And I thought it would be fascinating for us to see. Oh, thank you, Gareth. Gareth, you're so generous. I really appreciate it. It really helps me out in this channel a lot. But here are the franchises that they chose to spotlight. So let's get our arrow and take a look at them. I thought this was fascinating, what they chose to discuss. So you've got Disney's Cars, of course. They're still going with it. Still going with Cars. Of course, it's built a large land for them, so there's stuff there. Frozen, obviously. 3 and 4 are coming, so that's good. Star Wars. Toy Story being broken out. I think it's interesting. Instead of going with Disney Animation and Pixar, they're starting to break things out into their own franchises, which I think is really interesting. Yes, Sammy, full coverage on this weekend for D23. There'll be live coverage. There'll be trailer reactions and breakdowns if applicable. We'll have a lot to do. Then I thought it was interesting that instead of Marvel, they were spotlighting the Avengers. They were trying to make that a brand itself. Of course, those are the movies that have been the most successful and the best received. So I thought that was just a really interesting change. Instead of, usually beforehand, it was, focusing on the overall umbrellas. But now they're going down to a more micro level. That's right. That's right, Garnet Fire. I think they feel really good about this Robert Downey Jr. situation and the Russo brothers coming back. And they feel like the Avengers is like gonna, they don't want to call it Marvel because there's been a lot of criticisms, but who can really say anything bad at this point about the Avengers? Then look at Mickey Mouse, the one that started it all. He's still getting respect. So put some respect on that mouse's name. I have to say, at first I didn't like the design change for Mickey. The way Mickey looks now is a little bit more like SpongeBob SquarePants. And I had not liked that at first. I liked the classic 80s look of the character. But a lot of people like it because it looks more like Steamboat Willie, the 1920s, 30s version of the character. And also I think he's a little bit more zany, a little edgier, and I think that, the character is more popular as a result. You can't argue with that. Mickey Mouse, they have new shorts that are on the Disney Channel, Disney Plus. But also the theme parks. They're using Mickey a lot in the theme parks now, more so than before. The new Runaway Railroad attraction, which I finally got to ride when I was in Disney World in August, was pretty incredible. I really loved it. It's funny, Pearl Plum Sparkle, you say Steamboat Willie is in the public domain. Maybe that's why they changed Mickey's look. So that if you did anything with Mickey that was close to that, they could technically argue that it looked like the new Mickey. That would be fascinating. So you could probably do something about Steamboat Willie specifically, but you still couldn't even use that version of Mickey Mouse. That's really interesting, Pearl Plum Sparkle. I think you might have cracked the code there. Then Moana, her own brand. How amazing, considering the fact that movie wasn't huge when it came out. Inside Out, which of course is now huge. Even I'm a fan. I love anxiety. Avatar, obviously. Look at The Simpsons. One of the only, I think it's the only Fox brand on this list. It is. But of course, The Simpsons has been huge for Disney+. And then The Lion King, which is now a live action brand. And they're still hoping for Pirates of the Caribbean. They're still hoping they can do something with that. And I can understand that because the movies, of course, were some of the first billion-dollar films ever made. Avatar is Fox. You're right. So the two Fox things. You're right. My bad. So it's Avatar and The Simpsons. All right, so let's go back to the table of contents I have here. All right, so streaming was profitable. That was one of the big headlines out of the presentation this morning. They finally started turning a profit on streaming overall. Disney Plus and Hulu are still losing money, but thankfully ESPN Plus is bringing in a substantial amount of money. So that finally pushed their streaming endeavors overall into the black, red versus black. Then, of course, I also wanted to address the price hike of Disney Plus that was announced yesterday. I think it's interesting. The Disney Plus Hulu Premium Bundle is staying the same at about $20, $19.99. And I wish I wasn't an annual subscription because I would move to the Disney Plus Hulu Premium Bundle because I'm going to be paying way too much for them a la carte at this point, which is a little annoying. As for Disney Plus's own price going up to $16 a month without ads, that seems to me to be fine because that's how much Netflix charges a month. So I don't think that's unusual. But they did announce this morning, Bob Iger said that they are going to start seriously cracking down on password sharing in September. So and they said they don't suspect they'll have any issues with that. We'll see. Netflix did it and they didn't have any problems and they actually still gained subscribers. The password crackdown, it's happening. It's still happening. All right, then the NBA was an interesting point of contention. Bob Iger said it was worth it. Disney, NBC Universal, and Amazon paid $77 billion for 11 years of rights for the NBA. Now, of course, Warner Brothers was too cheap to pay for it. They were like, we're not doing that. But that's why the big headline out of Warner Brothers' call this evening was that they have an $11.2 billion write-down. So they're really having some troubles there at Warner Brothers. Their stock dipped substantially, I believe, or is about to dip substantially. I don't know what's going on over there. Zazie better sell that thing while he still can. But I thought that was interesting. That was a little bit of reversal of fortune, to compare the two that way. A write-down Garnet Fire is, I believe, it's like a tax write-off. I don't know how they're able to get away with it, but, Zazie's very business-minded, and so that's like deep business. Then this was very interesting. Hold on, where did my thing go? Okay, experiences. So they said that, unfortunately, the domestic parks are flat in attendance, which is, I think, fascinating. I think that speaks to people being very upset with the new pay fast pass situation, which I think is pretty awful. And I think that the Disney parks domestically will suffer until they get rid of that, if I'm being honest with you. And then, however, Bob Iger said they made up for it with the international parks, which are doing very well, and also the cruises are doing so well, which is why they must be adding a new cruise ship every year. It seems every time you turn around, they have a new cruise ship out at Disney, and that's because people like to ride them. I'm not a big cruise person. I've never been on a cruise, though, to be fair, although I know some people swear by them, and Disney is really doing well in the space. But they said, even though they had some losses in the experiences division, entertainment more than made up for it because they're making so much money. So that offset the losses. And in fact, they said it also fueled streaming significantly. They said whenever they would release a movie like Inside Out 2 or Deadpool and Wolverine or even A Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, everybody would flock to Disney Plus to watch the previous films in the franchise. And I thought that was very interesting. And that's really the beginning of our tale. As Bob Iger, that's what he was talking about. Bob Iger really wanted to make it clear that he's in the franchise business because that's how he's able to, go across the entire Disney empire. That's really how they butter their bread. All right, so let's get into some very cool slides. All right, so here's our first slide. Ooh, it's so beautiful. It's beautiful. I'll make it a little bigger so you can read it. All right, here we go. Hey, there's Stan account there. All right. So here it is. So beautiful. All right, so they said our performance in Q3 demonstrates the strength of Disney's complementary and balanced portfolio. So here's my arrow. So they say people watch their movies watch their movies or stream, on films, or they also put it on cable, linear networks. That's what that means, linear networks. So here's where people start. Then, they go around the circle to streaming the content available on Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN. Then they go and they visit the Disney theme parks. Or they go on a cruise ship and other elements that Disney does in real life. Then they're now starting to play games. They just, of course, bought a big stake in Epic Universe. And then, of course, they make purchases through the Disney store in person or mostly now online since they closed all the Disney stores, which I'm very upset about still. And products are huge for them as well. Now, this is very interesting to me. That's really a very enviable ecosystem now. And what's interesting to me is that Epic Games. Epic Games. Now, speaking of Universe, though, Universal, I believe, is the only studio that has anything similar. That's funny, Dig-I-Die. Like Vought from The Boys? But yeah, only Universal has anything similar in terms of the ability to have that kind of reach. I think the stores and the theme, even Universal doesn't have the stores to the same degree. Disney, because they're so far ahead in the physical world, creating physical experiences, it's right, Danny, it's the cycle of life, cycle of business. It's very hard for anybody else to catch up to them. I've long believed that physical experiences are key to building customer loyalty. And I think that's something Universal has discovered, which is why they're pouring so much money into their theme parks. Netflix is starting to build some more and more physical experiences. And Warner Brothers, of course, has benefited greatly from the Wizarding World of Harry Potter with the licensing deal they have with Universal. I still feel that that Warner Brothers should have their own theme parks. They obviously have a deal with Six Flags, but I'm talking their own theme parks. I think that's really crucial to the way people interact with entertainment these days. Disney adults, people who grew up going to theme parks still want to go as adults. And so I think that that's crucial to be able to allow them to do that. Disney, I think, understands that still better than any other studio. But I think Universal is next up in terms of that. All right, that's Tenerife says Warner Brothers can't do that until they sell, though. Well, that's why I'm in favor of them selling their movie and entertainment division to potentially Universal, because Universal already has the infrastructure in place. We'll see. There's a rumor that the real fear is that Zazd's going to chop Warner Brothers up into bits and pieces. They're saying he's going to sell Warner Brothers games, to Microsoft or give them a stake in it. He might just sell off. I think that's something that everybody's a little bit nervous about. All right. Because Warner Brothers has better... when it comes to franchises, I got rid of it. Where'd it go? You see all these franchises? Only Warner Brothers has the same level of good franchises. Nobody else has this level. This thing right down here. Where's my arrow? This thing here? Only Warner Brothers has something of this degree. Universal's still working on it. All right. That's right, Garnet Fire. Warner Brothers IPs are iconic, and they just don't know what to do with them. All right, so slide number 2. Here's where it gets really interesting. All right, I'll be back. right, so we continue to build franchises that fuel our ecosystem. Ooh, look at this. All right, so they're like, look at all the money we made off of Inside Out 2. So, where's my arrow so you know what I'm talking about? All right. Boop, 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 boop. So, first off, Inside Out 2 became the highest grossing animated film ever with over $1.5 billion at the global box office. Then, Inside Out, the first film, drove over 1.3 million Disney Plus signups and generated over 100 million views on the original film globally since the first trailer dropped for Inside Out 2. And then they make it even more clear, Disney Plus served as a marketing vehicle for the new film. So that's important because they're saying that Disney Plus is not only something that gives us value in terms of subscribers, but it provides advertising, like organic advertising for films that are coming up. So that's really smart. Okay, so this movie, Inside Out 2, worked beautifully. I just think that's incredible. And they said it got people to sign up for Disney Plus because they were like, I want to watch the first film, I might as well sign up for Disney Plus. Then they said Disneyland Resort opened Inside Out Emotional Whirlwind in 2019 and featured Inside Out IP at Pixar Fest this summer, and guests can meet characters from the franchise at our theme parks globally. I feel like Bob Iger reading this. The original Inside Out grossed over $850 million at the box office. So they still have to work a little bit on maximizing Inside Out, as you can see. But they're on their way. I think nobody would have ever guessed that Inside Out would be this kind of, would become a franchise. All right, then let's do it with Moana. Oh, here we go, baby. Look at Moana. This is amazing. So here comes Moana. All right, so Moana 2 is coming in November 2024, and Moana live action is coming in 2026. Moana 2 had the biggest animated trailer launch in Disney history with nearly 200 million views in 24 hours. I think it's a little sketchy how they compute that these days, but whatever. But this is interesting. And dedicated SKUs or SKUs for Moana merchandise, that's a SKU, for those of you who don't know, a SKU is like each individual item of merchandise. So, whenever you're like on Shark Tank, they're like, how many SKUs do you have? Like, that's how many pieces of merchandise do you have? So they're saying that dedicated SKUs for Moana merchandise have doubled since the sequel announcement. So as soon as they even announced a sequel, more Moana merchandise started to be sold. That's interesting, Atmosphere, about Moana being this generation's Lion King. Although, of course, the Lion King remake to a degree also did incredibly well. Moana was the most streamed film of 2023 across all platforms in the United States. That's incredible because Moana, it's always consistently in the top 10 month to month, while other movies get in and drop out. So that's amazing. So people are just streaming Moana left and right. Then, let's see here. I think Little Mystic says Little Mermaid. I think Frozen's the new Little Mermaid, but they got a lot of hits over there. Then Journey of Water, inspired by Moana, opened at the Walt Disney World Resort in fall 2023. I don't know why they don't say Epcot. Guests can meet Moana at all of our theme parks globally, as well as Aulani, which of course is their Hawaiian resort. And then The Tale of Moana is a new show debuting on the Disney Treasure. That's one of their cruise ships in December 2024. And they said the first Moana grossed $650 million at the global box office, which is weak. But you can see, who cares? Look what it has inspired. So that's amazing. That's really, really strong. All right, so they do it for some more movies. You're like, why are we just doing these little kiddie movies? Well, get ready for some fun stuff. Although first up is Toy Story. All right, so they did 4 more. They did 4 more with this. Oh, I love this stuff. It's so fun. All right, so they did Toy Story. All right, so here we go. Toy Story. Toy Story 5 is coming out in 2026. $3.3 billion has been generated at the global box office across 5 films. Why 5? I guess because of the Buzz Lightyear spinoff? With Toy Story 3 and 4 each grossing over $1 billion at the box office. It is the most viewed animated film franchise on Disney Plus overall. So that's really interesting. And the Toy Story Fun Day Football, the NFL alternate cast, delivered the biggest live event ever on Disney Plus to date. Isn't that interesting that they feel like even that is something that they feel is of value? And it is. It's the biggest live event on Disney Plus to date. Although I must tell you, I thought that SpongeBob was a little better. The SpongeBob on Paramount Plus CBS was pretty funny. I liked that a little bit better. But, Toy Story started it. They walked so that SpongeBob could run. And we'll see what the next telecast looks like after this. All right, then, Toy Story themed lands at Disneyland Paris, Hong Kong Disneyland, Walt Disney World, and Shanghai Disneyland Resort, with a Toy Story themed hotel at Tokyo Disney Resort and Shanghai Disney Resort. And then look at this. $1 billion, over $1 billion just in merch. Ka-ching! That's incredible. It's like Hugh Jackman. They'll never let Toy Story go. Toy Story will go forever. Even if it just has to take a little break, it'll eventually come back because it just prints money. All right, so that was really fascinating. But there's another one. We got 3 more. Okay, next up, the Avengers. Oh, we're getting to some adult content here. All right, so let's start at the top here. Look at that. They only listed the Avengers movies. Nothing about Captain America or Thunderbolts or even Fantastic Four. They said Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars are coming 2026 and 2027. I think they're doing that because they want to say they're going to recreate the magic of Infinity War and Endgame. I think that's pretty clear. That's what they're trying to sell. And you know what? It's not a bad pitch. Then Avengers Endgame, sure enough, is the second highest grossing film of all time with $2.8 billion at the global box office. It did that. That's right. The most viewed live action film franchise on Disney Plus. I'm like, what is? All of the Marvel movies or just the Avengers? They're like, don't ask us any more questions. So yeah, most viewed live action film franchise on Disney Plus. So Toy Story is the most watched animated. Avengers is the most watched live action, and then Moana is the most watched single movie anywhere. That's pretty good that's all Disney. All right, then Avengers Campus, as at Disneyland Resort and Disneyland Paris, and it's an IP featured across the Disney Cruise Line. Then Marvel's Spidey and His Amazing Friends on Disney Channel and Disney Plus. And then, with more than 50 million units sold, I thought it was interesting they were taking credit for this. Marvel's Spider-Man is the most successful superhero franchise video game series of all time. And I'm like, isn't that Sony? They're like, we're taking it. So I'm not quite sure why that's included on this, but they decided to include it. And then, also, over $1 billion, an annual, wait a second, what was Toy Story? An annual, these are annual. Oh my God, I thought it was $1 billion all time. They're making $1 billion a year off of these brands. That's incredible. My God, just off the merch. Build the stores. I miss the stores. I liked being able to go into the Disney store and buy stuff. I don't like having to order it online. But that's incredible. That's right, Dan. But Danny, I don't know if this is just for Marvel or if it's for only the Avengers. But that's $1 billion. So they're getting $1 billion in annual retail sales just for Avengers, and then another $1 billion just for Toy Story. And that's it. They're not even thinking about all the other stuff that they sell. So they must be making billions upon billions. They're probably in the double digits with billions with retail sales alone. All right, then we've got, who else is left? Star Wars. Oh, here we go. Still alive, baby. You can't kill it. All right, 3 Star Wars films are coming from 2026 to 2027. What? They're going to have 2 Star Wars movies in a single year? That's a mistake. But one is The Mandalorian and Grogu. Oh, I wonder if we'll see anything about that for Disney D23. Maybe. Mandalorian and Grogu. So that's pretty exciting. I'm excited for that movie. Nearly $6 billion in combined global box office. All right? Grossed by the most recent 5 Star Wars films. So not even like the early ones. So between 2015 and 2019. The Mandalorian is the most watched Disney Plus original series to date. No one else has been able to pass it. I think it obviously has the most seasons though, so it's cheating a little bit. But still, that's a nice feather in its cap. Guests have built over 1.5 million droids and 1.2 million lightsabers at Galaxy's Edge. And they ain't cheap! So they're doing that. Then Young Jedi Adventures on Disney Channel and Disney Plus. I don't know what that means, like get them when they're young. And then Galaxy's Edge at Walt Disney World and Disney World Resort remains one of our most popular and immersive lands and is #1 in guest satisfaction at Disneyland Resort. I call poppycock on that. I don't think that's possible, but it's fine. I mean, I don't believe that. I don't. I don't think it's a very good land. It's not particularly good. I can't believe that anybody going to Disneyland would say that was the best experience that they had, considering what else you can do at Disneyland. I just don't believe that. And then over a billion here. Oh my God, another billion. Another billion in annual sales. Although, of course, it's Star Wars. Star Wars is always, that's how George Lucas made his fortune, with merch. Galaxy's Edge wasn't canceled. That's the Star Wars Hotel. Galaxy's Edge is the land where they have Rise of the Resistance. I've only been to it once. I did not care for it. I thought it just felt, and it was, again, too small. I did like when the stormtroopers walked around, though. That was fun. I thought that, I got a hoot out of that. All right, we got one more. All right, who's it gonna be? All right, here it comes. Avatar. Ooh, Avatar. All right, I'm even now an Avatar fan as well. I hated the first Avatar and Inside Out, and they got me. All right, so Avatar. Sequels coming in 2025, 2029, and 2031. Hey, Garden Gamer. I think it's good that they're so far apart. I think having 4 years apart or a little bit more on these movies is a good idea. I think it makes them seem like more like events. Although you can see that last one is only 2 years apart. Maybe it's a real two-parter story. That's right, fewer bullet points here, Tenerife, because it's newer. And developing an Avatar experience at the Disneyland Resort. Avatar grossed $2.9 billion, and Avatar: The Way of Water grossed $2.3 billion at the global box office, ranking as the #1 and #3 highest-grossing films of all time. And don't forget, Avengers Endgame is #2, so Disney has the top 3. The release of Avatar: The Way of Water drove nearly 100 million incremental hours of streaming for the original Avatar on Disney+. And now that they're putting ads on stuff, that's a lot of money right there. So that's amazing. So everybody went back to watch the original Avatar to get ready for the new movie. And then Pandora, the World of Avatar, is #1 in guest satisfaction at the Walt Disney World Resort. I guess I could believe that. I have to say that Pandora went a long way to making me start to like Avatar. I think it's a nice experience in the parks. I like the Flight of Passage attraction. The other one's okay, but it's still pleasant. I just like being in the space, and also they have wonderful food. The food there is really good. It's very unique. Did I not say Flights of Passage? Sorry if I said something else. But the food there is phenomenal. It's like somewhat healthy. And I think like it's unique and it's fun to get it. It's fun to order it even. And every time I go, it's the only reason I still go to Animal Kingdom, to be honest with you. Although when they build the South America section with Coco, and they're probably going to announce that this weekend, Indiana Jones, Coco, and Encanto, I'll be spending a lot of time there as well. I don't think Animal Kingdom is a very well-constructed park. I think it's hard to navigate. It gets too hot. It's by far and away my least favorite park, even though I think it's very interesting. I've been to some interesting events there in the, with the safari. Whenever I go to Animal Kingdom, I do two things. Right now I go to Pandora Land, and I go on the Kilimanjaro safaris. Because I think, that's a nice section of the park as well. But, I told you my family's not big on thrill rides, so we don't go on Expedition Everest. And I feel like, Oh, look, Charlie says Animal Kingdom is a hidden gem. It's fun to get lost there. You have no choice but to get lost there. It's so hard to navigate it. But yeah, I do think that, Animal Kingdom certainly has its moments, and it is certainly very unique. Stebity, I guess maybe perhaps Latin America is the correct term there. But yes, so that's what they're going for. And I think that's a great addition to Animal Kingdom. I think it will make the park extraordinarily popular. But yes, I do think that Pandora is a land that's very well done. However, I do not think that Star Wars Galaxy's Edge is done very well. All right, so those are the graphics. That's what we have to talk about. So let's do a Q&A. So we'll do 15 minutes of a Q&A because, you know, we had a shorter stream than usual. So we'll do 15 minutes. Well, we'll do 16 minutes. So we'll go till 6:50. Let me put the little thing up there. Where's the Q&A? There we go. There we go. All right. Kay Walton says, what are you looking forward to for D23? I've heard they're going to have some pretty good announcements right now. I haven't had any confirmations about Marvel announcements, but I know that Disney is going to be doing some really great stuff. I think you're going to get some first looks for sure. I think you might get a trailer or two. Think about things that are coming up that you might not have necessarily on your radar. And I mean, I don't know if they're going to release these things to the public, but I think they'll hopefully will release some of it to the public. You know, some of it might just be for the room. But, you know, they have some really cool stuff coming up. And I mean, I'm going to get in trouble if I tell you what it is. But, you know, I think that Disney, while Marvel and Star Wars are obviously very important to them, they have their own cool stuff too. I think there will probably be a Skeleton Crew spot, and I think there'll probably be a Daredevil spot too, as Michael Macenas just said. You know, I think that Charlie Cox said he was going to be there. So I think there's a solid chance that, you know, that's going to happen. Adam Spheres, well, Alexander, try to keep your questions, please, to Disney stuff, because that's, you know, that's what we're talking about with this stream. Let's see here. So Adam Spheres says, well, franchises kill originality. I think a franchise can only survive by reinventing itself, so I don't think necessarily it will. I think you have to be careful, but, you know, I think we've seen some really bad original films too. I think Inside Out 2 is a really good movie. So I think it's okay. I mean, eventually they're going to have to try and build new things too. I mean, so a lot of these things are new, you know, and like Zootopia is not even on here, and that was new. Zootopia was a totally original idea that made $1 billion out of the gate. So I hope they still take some risks. I think once they get a little bit more sure footing again, like these franchises allow them to take risks. So they have to get a little bit more back on solid ground, and then I think maybe they'll be able to take a little bit more of risks. Tyler says, what existing IP has Disney not turned into a franchise that you would like them to? I wish they were a little bit more back leaning into Americana. That's something that Disney as a company has moved away from. You'll notice that they didn't even, in the past, they've had a little 4th of July tab on their streaming service. And they've had stuff that you can watch like Johnny Tremaine or Ben and Me. And they didn't have that at all this year. I mean, forget creating new content. And, you know, I think, you know, Main Street USA really celebrates that Americana. And I think, you know, I think that the traditional American image has gotten caught up in politics. And one of the things that's been happening these days is that you're seeing both sides say, well, we want to have that. We want to have that ourselves. And so that would make me very happy if we could depoliticize the image of America. You know, obviously people will still have differences of opinion, but I like the idea, you know, like back in the day, Walt Disney would make these really charming movies about Americana, like Johnny Tremaine, Pollyanna, you know, those kind of things. And, you know, I think that's one of the things that built the company. It's one of the reasons they have such a strong conservative fan base. And so I think that moving away from that is the wrong idea, in my opinion. Haunted Autumn says Americana doesn't have the appeal it once did. I think that I would like to see us get back there. You know, I say that as an American, you know. Danny, I will definitely cover Agatha weekly, for sure. I was just talking to someone today. I was making a schedule for September, and I was like, can't do the 18th. I'm going to be doing Agatha coverage. Randall says, I'm a little nervous since Moana was so big, and now Moana 2 is coming out. when it was originally a Disney Plus series? Do you think Disney pumped more money into it? Well, they definitely paid for the voice actors to come back, which clearly wasn't going to be the case with it as a series. I'm a little nervous about it too. I hope it's good. But I don't know if I'm not the best judge of that because I didn't love the first film, you know? Hey, Tiffany's Game Corner. Welcome back. I didn't love the first Moana film. I mean, I like it as a space to be in. I think it's very charming. But, I'm not a huge Moana fan. So let's see how the movie does. I hope it delivers. Disney's on a roll right now, and I really do not want to see them stumble. Don't worry about it, Tiffany's Game Corner. I totally understand the churn. You got a churn beyond the trailer? I'm glad you're back. Ride the wave. Stardust Fernandi says, do you feel any jokes from Deadpool went too far? I personally don't feel that they did, as long as you respected the R rating. But I don't, and I haven't heard anybody say anything. So I think that's a really good, good for the movie. Buck's Basement says, Grace, after Warner Brothers' loss of $10 billion in 2024, does that mean the end of Zaslav's god-awful reign? No, he won't leave until they sell the company, because that's what he's in charge of doing. He's very connected in Hollywood. And he's gotten to the point where he just does not give an F anymore. Paul, yeah, we'll cover the Dune Ben Gesserit show as well. Oh, Chico, I know you're in California for D23. Oh, you're going to be at California Adventure tomorrow doing the park hopper. Any tips? If you have the funds, I would pay for the front of the line pass, whatever it's called now. I think it will make a difference in your experience. Especially, I don't know if you're there with anybody else, Chico, but if you're going by yourself, you should definitely do it. Marduk says, do you think these results will allow for more money for Disney Plus shows and therefore better shows? That's a great question, Marduk. I like your ruby badge. It looks good on you. I think that Disney's problem is not so much a lack of money. I mean, they're certainly pumping a ton of money into these shows. But they really need to move away from this half-hour, 6 or 8, the half-hour episodes, and only about 6 or 8 episodes is really a disaster for them. I think that Shogun, on their own streaming service, Hulu, proved that the hour-long or 45-minute long 10-episode formula is the way to go. That's right, Tenerife. I think it's really largely a writing issue. Vachuli says, why did the stock go down after the earnings call? Are you talking about Disney? I think there might be some concern about the theme park situation. Theme parks have always been like, Disney invented theme parks, the way they exist today. And so I think anytime something is showing not having growth, I think maybe it makes people a little nervous. Swamp Thing says, do you think they will move back to event Disney Plus content like WandaVision and Loki? Well, Agatha is supposed to. Agatha is supposed to be like that. I hope that they do. I think clearly they've been making too much content, and I think that they've addressed that now. And I hope that they can course correct. Mika says, do you think that the Disney slate for the rest of the year is a little weak? No, I don't think it's weak. I think that, they talked about the fact they have Moana 2 and they have Mufasa. I think that they're in a better space than a lot of studios. 2024 overall has been a really weird year. It's been tough. It's been tough to cover it. I think that the strikes really did a number on this year. But it had to be done. But some people are hurting really badly. I was also talking to some people about that today. It's been very difficult. This is a very difficult time for the industry. It expanded like a big bang with streaming, but now it's collapsing back in again. And some of those jobs just disappeared and will never come back. And that's really scary. Brendan Lucas says, I don't think Disney will ever get Star Wars. Whether you believe in these things or not, Star Wars revolves around faith. That's interesting. I thought everybody thought Dave Filoni knew what he was doing. Has everyone turned on Dave Filoni as well? I don't know. I think that the Bad Batch animated series is like classic Star Wars. I love it so much, but nobody watches it. I think they have to stop trying to change these things for a different audience. especially because, as we've seen, female viewers are not showing up, even with concerted efforts to appeal to them. So I think like they need to focus on, I think they need to refocus on making the content for the people who like it. You know, I think Bob Iger is aware of the problems. I wouldn't be surprised if in a year or two all these things have gone away. Charlie Michael says, "Hi Grace, what would you think of an Inside Out movie inside of a different person's head?" I don't know. I think Riley is the way to go. I would stick with Riley, and I think the next step obviously is for Riley to be an adult. You know, I think that could be really good. You know, Vince Vaughn was on Hot Ones to promote his new Apple TV series. And he said that, you know, today, this was really one of the most interesting things he said. He said, today, every studio executive says you need a big IP to be able to get a movie to go forward. And Vince Vaughn said that back in the day, life experiences were the IP. Like John Hughes built a career on shared life experiences that everyone can relate to. Going to prom, turning 16, family holiday vacations with Home Alone, Ferris Bueller's cutting a day of school. And I thought that was really smart. And I think that, sometimes that's been some of the magic for Disney, things that everybody can relate to. Nikita, as I said, this is really only for Disney things, and I don't know enough about the Zendaya Rob Pattinson movie anyway. I'm impressed you're the second person who's asked about it, so it seems like it might be a good idea. Let's see here. Hey Thomas, welcome back. I agree, Elise, that Star Wars needs to stay away from the Skywalker family. I think we're done with the Skywalker family. Thank you. It was a great time, everybody. Bye-bye. I think we would like to meet new characters. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons that The Mandalorian has done so well, because he's in his own space, and Grogu is so adorable, and I'm excited for them to get their own movie. Dan Blaster says, "What would you do to increase interest in domestic parks?" I think they need to be cleaner and better maintained. I think that Bob Chapek cut a lot of corners, and I think they just don't seem as magical as they once did. I think that's a big issue. I think that this nickel and diming the consumer is awful, particularly because Disney is a park for still families. And I think to ever make a parent have to feel ashamed in front of their child in terms of a monetary expense, particularly when they're already spending a ton of money to go in the first place, is really problematic. So I think maybe they need to have some kind of, I think that it was just fine the way that it was with the free Fast Pass. And I think if they have any additional things that need to be covered, they just have to raise the prices of the park overall. Elliot, I'm so glad you're going to Disney. You're going to have such a good time. It's still fun there, even though it has some problems. CJ, I think they're ignoring The Incredibles because Brad Bird doesn't want to do anymore. And I think they're going to try and move Fantastic Four to take that space in live action, which I think is clever. Sammy says, "Are you hopeful for the Tiana series trailer at D23? Wouldn't that be great to see that?" I love Tiana, and I feel bad about all the technical difficulties with her ride. I would have preferred for that launch to be smoother. And I feel like the attraction still doesn't focus on Tiana very much from what I've seen. I'm a little frustrated about that because I really wanted it to be a big hit, and I love her movie. I'm excited for her series. I think it's going to be fantastic, and it would be definitely one that I would watch. As an adult, I would be like, I want to see Tiana's next adventures. I'm so excited for her. Mika says, "Do you feel like with Disney focusing on franchise output and Warner Brothers releasing mostly original films over the next year, we're starting to see them return back to the perfect yin and yang of Hollywood?" No, I don't know. I think franchises are still what makes a studio. You need the franchises to as a foundation, and Warner Brothers would be unwise to ignore their franchises. But I'm glad that Warner Brothers is making so much original film. The loss of the drama is very sad. Art Lover says, "I went to Disneyland recently. I couldn't believe the Jungle Cruise was covered in weeds." That's crazy. I can't believe it's hard. It is hard to believe that. Guy Ty, there is no word on Ironheart, which is bizarre, but maybe we'll hear something this weekend. You know, I think they focused clearly mostly on only on movies at Comic-Con, so hopefully they're going to do a little bit more. Pearl Plum Sparkle, I haven't seen that photo shoot, but I think it's really very sweet that Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds have done so much to promote Blake Lively's movie, which looks like it might do pretty well this weekend. Oh, Garnet Fire, I'm so glad you enjoyed this stream. That makes me so happy. Ricardo says, can Moana 2 possibly go over what Inside Out 2 did at the box office? No way! I think there's even a solid chance Moana 2 won't make $1 billion because, again, it's a smaller in scope film, and it obviously was first supposed to be for Disney Plus. And I agree with Stebity that the songs are going to be crucial, and Lin-Manuel Miranda did not return. So I think if it can just make as much as the original, which is pretty low at $650, if it can just make somewhere around there, I think that'll be good. You know, the real question is, will Mufasa make $1 billion? That movie looks pretty good to me, and I think Barry Jenkins is very talented. So I have high hopes for that. That guy you like, I agree. I don't know why they're not doing anything with Wanda. It's just, I think, one of the biggest missteps that we've seen in the space. Hugely popular female character, and it's really sad how she's been mishandled. All right, it's 6:50, everybody. I love chatting with you. Can I do some shout-outs before I sign off? Shout-out time. Oh, thank you, Wiki Nomad. That's very generous of you. Thank you so much. I appreciate your political question, Charlie. I think everybody at this point knows where I stand. But I'm trying not to be too political because I think it's gotten very contentious, you know? And I know that some of you come here to escape. So I'm just really trying to honor that, you know? I probably will, you know, say who I'm going to be voting for because I think it's important. But you know, I think I want to get back to where we used to be. You know, you don't talk politics and religion. And I don't know what happened. I mean, I think the country was happier that way. Tenerife, I'm very sorry for your loss, but I'm glad you're making it into a positive thing. All right, so let's see here. Elliot says, at home making my vision board for PE class finals. That's great. I love that you're visualizing it. Michael Macenas said, made an egg and chorizo burrito with sourdough toast. Whoa, what a chef. That's amazing. I'm impressed. Mr. Magic is running around Portland for appointments. Glad I caught the stream. I'm glad you did too. Hey, Danny, day off in Guatemala. I'm about to watch Batman Caped Crusader. I think you're going to really enjoy it. Let's see here. Linda Jordan says, trying to stay dry in Charleston. Oh, good luck. It's raining too much. Let's see here. Alexander Padilla says, Grace, it would be nice if you sent some love to Venezuela. I love Venezuela. I always feel very nicely about Venezuela. Well, I've never been there. My mother went there when she was growing up, and she stayed there for a summer. And she said it was one of the nicest experiences she ever had, and she said the people there were wonderful. So I will always have a special place in my heart for Venezuela because of that. Art Lover says, honestly, putting off vacuuming. Good for you! You'll get it done eventually. Mystic, thank you for staying up for the stream. I appreciate it. I'm sorry it was a little late today. Poke, you feel that strongly that Moana will make $1 billion? Well, let's see. I'm sure Bob Iger's like, let's go, baby. Harsh Desai says, just finished filming a short film this past weekend for college, and I'm extremely proud of. I really think I'm grasping my style and cinematography techniques. That's exciting. And good for you that you're even thinking of that. Oh, Sam, sweet dreams. You have Wakanda Forever on the watch list while I fall asleep. Oh, that'll be lovely. That'll be really nice. Sweet dreams, Sam. That's a very sad movie, but a beautiful film. Fernando says, listening in hot California while the Ramekins is playing Sims 4. And Steven Turner says, just read Uncanny X-Men. You will enjoy Rogue was written really well. Oh, really? I read that last night. I thought she was overwritten. I don't like the new comics, I'm afraid. I'm gonna keep reading them for a little bit, but I think they're too convoluted already. And they're like, I saw today they're like Rogue and Cyclops are the new Magneto and Charles, and I'm like, I don't care. Dan says, got a new job, Grace. It's a production management apprentice, Grace, for a big UK TV production. That's very exciting, Dan. That's a great gig. Oh, you're going to learn a lot and be in an exciting space. Jico says, currently sitting down at a bench at downtown Disney underneath the Luca poster. Oh, you're having great Disney vibes. That's very exciting, Jico. Linda Jordan says that onions make everything better. Sauteed onions are pretty tasty. In the Moment Reel says, on hold with the Department of Labor. Companies be tripping. Well, I'm glad you're taking care of stuff. Don't let them dissuade you. Yaya Yonsei is about to take a nap. Oh, I love it. Oh, I love the nappy. Let's see here. Adam's Fierce has been folding laundry for an hour. That's funny. And then, let's see here. And then, Vachuli says, this late midnight stream and solely getting, loving this late midnight stream and solely getting excited for my September vacation to Japan and Tokyo Disney Sea. Oh, I want to go there someday. I think that would be incredible. I'd love to go to Tokyo Disney Sea. Man on the Moon says, Grace, when you're running errands, what's your average step count? I walk a lot when I go out. When I'm really on the run, I average, let's see here, around 20,000 steps. Yeah. That's because I'm in the city and I walk everywhere. That guy you like, that's a great name, says, at home watching Baby Reindeer and Mortified by episode 4. I heard that was a very, that show was kept it very, very real. Yeah, I don't mess around, everybody. I don't mess around. Let's see here. Yeah, 20,000. Some of you were shocked, so I was like, let me check. Yeah. I mean, some other days are closer to 10, but when I really am going out, it's around 20,000. Yeah. Between 10 and 20,000. Oh, you're going, your little brother Gabriel, you're going to see Mariah Carey for Christmas? I have some friends who went to see her Christmas concert last year, and they had an amazing time. So you're going to really enjoy it. All right, everybody, I better get going. I have Borderlands will go up at 3 a.m. when the embargo lifts, and then Umbrella Academy will go up a couple hours later to give that video room to breathe. Okay, everybody, bye. Bye-bye. And then also, I think the next lives will be on Friday and Saturday. All right, so unless there's some big news tomorrow. But probably the next time those 2 videos will go up tomorrow, and then you're going to be seeing a lot of me over the weekend. So I'm going to try and decompress a little bit so that I can go into working so much, especially because it's going to be overnighters, for D23. I don't know why these panels are at night, man. Okay, everybody, bye.